All right, my boys, basketball.
Yeah, it's you couldn't really tell. Like, you sound like you have a mic on right now.
Dude, the last video was so funny, dude. I was dead when I heard that.
Yeah.
It sounded like I was a call-in.
Yeah, it was sweet. It gave us a different little twist. It was like, oh, we got a caller from Albany, Oregon. Channon's coming on, dude. But yeah, so I didn't really make a list the tier. So Jonah, do you want to give the intro for what we're gonna talk about today?
Sure. So basically, we're sorting the NBA teams into tiers based off of what we've seen from the first month of the season, as well as kind of what we expect going forward. So we're going to take a look at some of the teams who have surpassed our expectations or disappointed us, and also just kind of use it as a venue to just share whatever thoughts we may have about a team that we want to get off our chest. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
Jonah,
sir,
before we start, I just want to ask you, even though it's kind of an obvious question, but like, do you think that Draymond getting ejected actually played a difference, or do you think that game would have played out the same way last night for the Warriors?
Oh, well, it definitely obviously it would make a difference because Draymond's just so important to what the Warriors do.
Yeah.
Whether having Draymond would have led the Warriors to beating New York, I think probably not, but it definitely made a difference for sure.
When did he get ejected?
And it was 1 minute left in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He was yelling at Wiseman. Guy's like, get your shit out of here, son. But
So,
at least, but they didn't, they actually, at the beginning of the second half, they told Draymond that he's not going to be fined and it's not going to affect him at all, but he can't come back in the game since they threw him out. Like, the ref apologized and stuff.
Okay, that's weird. So, how did RJ Barrett get 28?
It's called.
Was he attacking?
They got to the line a lot. Lots of free throws too, right?
Who was guarding RJ? Was it Steph? There's no way.
Dude, who was on RJ Barrett?
I would guess Oubre, right?
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Well, but then who's guarding Randall? I thought before the game, I was thinking that Draymond. Yeah,
and Kellan
I was thinking
Looney,
that RJ, Wiggins, and the Pascal dude or whatever. I thought they were gonna have big games, but
yeah,
I think I got Wiseman's score right, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, and did you get freaking Steph's score right?
No,
too?
I was. He got over 30, didn't he? I said 25.
Oh, okay. It was wild because he had 20 points in the first half, and then it was.
I know. I saw that. I was like, yeah.
And then it was kind of slow after that, but it's okay. But what's wrong with is there like COVID problems with the Blazers?
No, what? It's the Grizzlies. It's the Grizzlies.
Oh, that's trash.
They've had 4 of their games postponed.
Damn.
Like, because I don't know what they're doing. They're just some dirty dogs, I guess.
That's trash. But
Dude, I'll take it, bro. CJ's healing. Let's go.
Wait, what's wrong with CJ?
Broke his foot.
Oh, shit. That's awful for you guys. I want to look at this box score, dude. RJ Barrett and Elfrid Payton, if you squint your eyes, they look the exact same because they have the exact same haircut. He
cut his hair?
Yeah. I remember, did he have the floppy hair again when he was on the Magic? Or yeah. So funny.
Dope, dude.
So
same with like Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker looks weird now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he cut his hair too, didn't he?
Yeah. But it was like a thing for him, actually.
I like when Jaylen Brown has the little faux hawk kind of thing. Frohawk. Like, and I also do. They were showing throwback Dame. I wish you'd bring his like mohawk back. That looks so sick. That's like vintage Damian Lillard. They were showing a clip of like Steph highlights, and Dame was in. I was like, that haircut's sickening. So dope. But do you have 3 tiers, Jonah?
No, I didn't really have any sort of like applicable way of measuring tiers. Like it's not like all the teams fall into super distinct categories. What I basically did was just I took my rank of 30 NBA teams, and then whenever there was like a very material difference between 2 of the teams, I just kind of sliced it into a tier right there. So basically how I ended up doing it is I have 9 tiers, and all the teams in a tier are interchangeable. So really, like if two teams are in the same tier, I wouldn't really have a problem with anybody like ranking them one ahead of the other or something like that. It's all just kind of eye of the beholder at that point.
Right.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So not divided by conference, right?
No.
Okay.
Who's your number one team in the league right now?
So should we just get right into I actually had two teams in my top tier.
Yeah, let's hear them.
The Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
And their Staples Center counterparts, the Los Angeles Clippers.
You don't have the Jazz?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Nah, not in the same tier as them, bro.
Yeah. Jazz are a couple tiers down from this.
The LA teams are just good, dude. Like,
yeah.
It's bad.
Dude.
And the Lakers have been having a dominant regular season because they've been sleepwalking through it at times. And what are they, 11-5 right now?
Yeah.
11-4. Right, 11. Is that fair? No, 12-4.
12-4? Okay. Yeah. So they haven't even been they haven't been throwing their fastball yet because LeBron, he's averaging a career low in minutes. Anthony Davis, his minutes are down as well. Yeah. And so I am curious to see this team in the playoffs because before the season, I was pretty firmly opposed to the offseason they had. I thought their team was worse. And I did kind of note that the additions of Schroeder and Harrell, who have been off to a very good start this season, especially Harrell, I definitely thought those would be guys who did help them during the regular season. But it'll be interesting to see how they fit into the rotation postseason because the Lakers really did start to click with some of their lineups towards like the later rounds of the NBA playoffs last year. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see how they are able to mesh the success they had in last year's postseason with the success they've had in this regular season because they're two very different like philosophies and styles of play. So it's just going to be interesting to see what Frank Vogel thinks the strength of this Lakers team are.
Yeah,
for sure.
Every time I see Montrezl Harrell, immediately just think of Jonah and his thoughts on like the Lakers signing Montrezl because he's been playing decent. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's been playing well. I mean, it's basically been the Montrezl Harrell experience so far. I still have very serious concerns about how he'll contribute in the playoffs, but
yeah, me too.
For sure.
I'm a believer in the Schroeder thing though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that works well, and I think it'll keep working well.
Yeah, for sure. I cannot believe the Warriors won that game, dude. I wish I
would have watched it. I wasn't watching it. I wish I would have watched. It's just crazy, bro. The regular season, dude. You can beat the Lakers and then lose to the Knicks. Literally anything can happen.
Hey, like the Knicks are playing a good brand of basketball.
No, I know, but and like what they Cavs, what Colin Sexton did to the Nets, bro.
42. Stop.
Kidding me, bro? I didn't think combined for almost 100.
What's up?
No, he's just a cold-blooded killer, dude. Like you seen like the 3v5 in his college days?
Oh yeah.
Or the video where he stares at the guys. You seen that?
Yeah, when that guy's looking up at him. That's when you know he was a bad man. Yeah, he's a beast.
All right, so who's in tier 2?
Well, we didn't talk about the Clips.
Oh yeah, the Clips.
So the Clippers, I've been a little bit worried about them just because their bench has been terrible and they're still a bottom 10 defense in the NBA. And much of that has just been due to how bad Kennard and Lou Williams and Reggie Jackson have been on the floor, as well as Zubats. Zubats has not been having a very good season either. And they just have a lot of very limited players on their bench, a lot of one-way players with very obvious gaps in their skill set. But their starting lineup is still as good, if not better, than anyone in the NBA. Like, yeah, I said they had a bottom 10 defense. Kawhi and Paul George, when they've been on the floor together, their defense is in the 84th percentile. Like, they have one of the better defenses in the league when their starters are on the floor. Yeah. And so I'm not too worried about them. I do think
especially postseason, like
yeah, for sure. I do think they should make a trade at the deadline for sure.
For what?
For probably a better two-way guard. I've said this name a few times for the Clippers, but I think George Hill would help them a lot.
Yeah. Wait, where is he right now?
the Thunder. So the Thunder
that's right.
looking to
Yeah.
move him. And so I think that's kind of a natural fit.
Do you have the Nets in an upper level tier too?
Yeah. So my next tier is kind of my 2B or my 1B title contenders. I would give like the Lakers and Clippers. They probably have about a 50% chance of winning one of those two teams winning the title, maybe even more like a 60% chance. And this group probably has like a 30 to 35% chance one of these teams of winning the title, and that's the Bucks and the Nets.
So does that mean after that it's pretty slim pickings for everyone else to win a championship?
Yep.
Yeah.
About a 5 or 10% shot divided amongst them.
Good.
Damn.
I'm not a believer in the Bucks.
Didn't they lose the other day?
I completely understand why they're there, why they're in the tier 2, but I'm taking the Nets over the Bucks, baby.
Yeah, the Bucks are an interesting team because I think the Lakers kind of exposed a lot of their flaws. You texted this to us last night, and teams are starting to kind of figure out Giannis, I feel like. And that's very concerning because he doesn't have a whole lot of counters. He pretty much has drive as fast as he can to the hoop, take a Euro step or a spin move. And if he's going one-on-one against someone or if he's in transition, that's great. Like nobody has the athleticism or the height or strength to stay in front of Giannis. So that's just a completely dominating move.
But if you can get set.
Yeah, but when the defense is set and it's more of a half-court scenario and defenders can either load up to help and kind of dig at the ball because he's still a pretty mediocre at best passer. So when teams can kind of load up and stop him, or if a team has an elite one-on-one defender who can like recognize his moves and stay in front of him, like teams are figuring out how to stop Giannis. And his mid-range shot is still not very good. He is taking more three-pointers just because defenses are begging him to take them, but that's still not a very strong part of his game. So he just doesn't have a lot of counters to the one move that he does have, and teams are like really committing more than ever to just load up and stop that one move. And so Giannis's production has been way down this year, which is a concern.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about how like he dominates the regular season because people just don't really like draw up stuff to stop him every night, but we're kind of seeing that it's kind of maybe like what teams saw in the playoffs from the Heat and stuff kind of helped and kind of like gave people a different perspective of like what to do to stop him. And so that we're just kind of seeing that change a little bit now where teams are stopping him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then on the other end of the floor, like the Bucks were the number one defense last year, but this is not your father's Bucks defense. Like they've taken a significant step back on that end as well. Like Drew Holiday, he might be a more versatile offensive player than Eric Bledsoe, but they've definitely missed his production on defense. I don't think DiVincenzo has been the amazing defender people kind of hoped he would be. He gets good steals and he's very active and he's a wonderful defensive rebounder for a guard, but just his one-on-one defense has kind of been lacking. We definitely saw that in that Brooklyn game. They had him on Harden for large swaths of that game, and Harden was able to beat him pretty easily. Granted, Harden's one of the stronger guards in the NBA, and DiVincenzo is a more slimmer build. But I think they're going to miss Bledsoe, and even like George Hill and Wesley Matthews, some of those stronger guys that they had on the perimeter.
That's a good point. I think especially George Hill, Wesley Matthews.
Yeah.
Because Drew Holiday is a solid defender. I mean, you would expect that he would hold his own, but when you lose the pieces around, it hurts.
And especially against some of the teams they play in the Eastern Conference, like Boston. Drew Holiday is like one of the number one guys I'd want to throw at Kemba Walker. Or Miami, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic. Drew would be able to shut them down. Obviously, with Brooklyn, he would be a perfect guy to throw on Kyrie. So there are definitely matchups where Holiday will be very much needed for them on the defensive end. I don't think Holiday, I think that trade is looking pretty bad right now because they traded so much to get him. And the thought was that Eric Bledsoe, he's a great defender, but his offensive limitations are just too much for this Bucks team to kind of withstand in the playoffs. I don't think Drew Holiday's been some panacea for the Bucks on offense. Like,
I freaking love your vocab, dude, and your expressions. It's the best.
Because his usage is still low. I think his usage is at or below 20%. So it's not like they've been working super hard to incorporate him. Maybe that's a look they'll go to more in the playoffs. But if you brought him in to kind of solve the offense and be like the plan B when teams stop Giannis, that has not been the case.
Yeah.
And before we move on from the Bucks, just shout out to Chris Middleton because he is still having an amazing season.
He's so freaking good. It's crazy.
Channon, do you want to talk about the Nets?
Dude, the Nets are the freaking best team in the East for one thing, bro. I don't even... I just think that those three guys on the same team, it literally, like, that's top of the East in my opinion. Like, because who's going to stop it, bro? I keep saying it over and over again. Who's going to stop those three guys? And yeah, the Cavs beat them. Okay, whatever. It's a regular season game. You get into the playoffs, the mindset changes, bro. Guys are locked in. Guys want to win. And it looked like Kyrie's already back, bro. He was balling. He had like 37 or something like that. Like, they're going to be able to produce. And there are concerns. Defense is a concern, but I think we know KD can turn it up. I think they can all turn it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a scary basketball team.
Yeah, bro. I'm trying to watch. Is there a game on like a thing today?
Katie has an off night. Kyrie has an off night. James Harden drops 50. Like, it's going to be crazy. But honestly, Katie can do so much himself. And Katie's not going to really have that many bad days, dude. So, I mean, just the other two guys on top of it's just going to be wild. It's going to be so much fun to watch.
Katie is like, if not the best scorer in the league, he's up there, dude. Like, he's just like...
Yeah, I feel like the league missed him a lot last year.
Yeah, bro. He's 7 feet and he's like... He behaves like a guard. Like, it's just unfair.
Yeah. His game's like Wiseman.
Yeah,
guard skills for 7 footer.
I think CJ said it best when he said, "If KD misses, it's not because you stopped him; it's because he missed."
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Is he still second in the NBA in scoring per game right now? And
it feels like he gets like 36 every night.
Yeah, I do think Channon brought up which team could stop them. I do think that there might be one team in the East that you might be able to say has the firepower to stop the Nets, and that's in my next tier down because I think their overall talent is not as good, but I think the Celtics might match up really well against this Nets team.
I love the Celtics
because the Celtics, they play such smart defense under Brad Stevens. They have great rotations. They always play on a string. Great help defense, and they may not have like the best one-on-one defenders like Jason Tatum. He struggles to get by screens. Kemba Walker, teams can kind of exploit him in the pick and roll, but the Nets don't really run like a lot of complicated actions, or at least they haven't yet. That could be something that gets developed as like the season progresses, but a lot of what they do is just pretty basic, like NBA offense stuff. Like they might like set a pin down to get like Durant to look in the post or just something like that. But it's not a lot of like complicated, sophisticated sets that they've been running so far. And that makes sense because they're such a new team with a brand new coach and with the offensive talent they have. You really don't need to do anything too crazy. Just get like Kevin Durant the ball and let's go. But back to the Celtics, like Marcus Smart, he's like the perfect guy to put on Harden, you would think, or Jaylen Brown. And then you can put the other one on Kyrie and then Tatum on Kevin Durant. That might be a bit of a weak spot, but at least Tatum has kind of the length and the mobility to stick with Durant. You can throw Kemba onto Joe Harris and then Tice on DeAndre Jordan. Like just as a kind of base matchups, like I think there aren't very many teams that match up as well as the Celtics do with the Nets, or you could even throw Tristan Thompson in there. And
that's a good matchup.
Yeah, so that would be one I'm curious to see. I'm still not a huge believer in the Celtics though overall.
Yeah, me either. I want to be, honestly, but
yeah, I think I predicted them to finish 6th in the East, and they've definitely like outperformed my expectations. They've been one of my biggest surprise teams so far, how well their offense has played, especially during the time when Kemba Walker was out. And now Kemba Walker's back, and he's played 2 games so far. And the first one against the Knicks was a struggle. And then he was able to get a little bit going in their loss to the 76ers on Wednesday. But
they play again today, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, against the Sixers again.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's lit.
When do the Blazers play next?
Sunday.
Sunday? All right.
Yeah, so I guess, do you guys have any Bucks or Nets thoughts?
Bucks lost to a couple good teams though, right? Because they lost to the Lakers, and then who'd they lose to before that?
The Nets.
Yeah. So I mean,
everyone's losing games. It's just a different season. Like, people are losing games that it's kind of like, I don't know if you'd lose that in a normal situation. But in your next tier down, I'm hoping to see the appearance of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, you will not. My next tier has 4 teams, and we've already talked about the Celtics, and I've also got the Jazz, Heat, and Mavericks.
Oh, come on, bro.
The Jazz are fire. Aren't they one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league?
Yeah, and
the Jazz are nice. I want to hear your Maverick argument.
Okay, well, I'll start with the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks are going to be the 4th seed in the West right now. I started off the season with them as the 5th or 6th seed, and they've done really nothing to dissuade me of that. I know they've been off to a bit of a rocky start. I think they're at 500 right now, right? 7-7 or something like that. But Luka Doncic, he's been turning it up recently. They've dealt with a lot of injuries and COVID absences, like Josh Richardson and Tim Hardaway Jr. They've been absent a lot recently. And so you've been seeing guys like Wes Iwundu and Josh Green start a lot of games. And Kristaps, he hasn't played most of the games. And in the few games that he's been back, like this past week, he's been on a severe minutes restriction. So we just haven't seen this Mavericks team at full strength yet. But a lot of this just comes down to like how bad the other teams in the West have been looking. Like the Nuggets have been a huge disappointment. The Trailblazers are dealing with a ton of injuries. And so I just think by process of elimination, the Mavericks are the best team left standing, and they have the best player of that group in Luka Doncic. And so, I'm still a big Mavericks believer. I do think I talked about this before the season started, and this has been the case, that their offense has taken a step back from last year. We kind of knew that was going to happen because they got rid of guys like Seth Curry, who were so important to like their offense, just provided all that spacing and stuff, and really gave Luka all the room in the world to work with. And when you throw in like a Wes Iwundu, who I've mentioned played a lot, and Josh Green, those guys won't factor into the rotation too much. But even like a James Johnson or a Josh Richardson, just a little bit less offensive firepower. And that's definitely going to help them in the playoffs when they actually have defenders to match up against the opposition's elite offensive players. But I do think that's going to make them less of a dominant regular season team. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess just a brief thought about Kristaps, because he's started playing. He's looked pretty good. Have you guys seen any Mavs games since Kristaps?
No, I haven't.
Has been back. So, yeah, the defense is still a work in progress. He's never really been a very good defender, and he's looked like more lethargic than ever kind of out there. As soon as Kristaps came back, their defensive rating, or their defensive rebounding rating, just kind of plummeted. Like they started allowing a lot of offensive rebounds, and Kristaps has never been an amazing rebounder, but his offense still looks pretty good. He's been shooting the ball well since he's been back. They've been giving him some touches in the post, and I've never really been a big fan of them letting Kristaps go to work in the post, but he's actually been pretty efficient with that shot, although super small sample size. So we'll have to kind of keep monitoring that. But yeah, I still am a fan of the Dallas Mavericks.
Word.
Sure. Jonah, how do you think that the Pacers match up against the Nets or like Toronto?
Oh, I think the Nets would probably blow the doors off of those two.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just way too much of a talent discrepancy, I think, when you get into those teams. I mean, like,
Well, I feel like there's talent discrepancy when you compare them to most teams in the league.
oh yeah, like even Boston.
Yeah.
Boston at least, like, you're coming closer on the talent, and I think they match up really well just because they have a lot of like versatile perimeter defenders who could theoretically defend against like all three of the Brooklyn trio. And so I just think that's an intriguing matchup. I probably would still pick the Nets against the Celtics, but I think once you get past that, like even the Heat, was a big believer in the Heat. I think they probably don't have enough to stick with the Nets. But
Facts.
I haven't been disappointed by the Heat this year, though. Their record is terrible. I think they're like 5-8 right now. Or maybe I'm sure they've actually played more games than that. But they're substantially under 500. Yeah, 6-7. Yeah, so they've been under 500 the entire year. And
like you said, they're kind of just chilling.
Yeah. I really haven't seen anything to like dissuade me of picking them in the playoffs, because if anything, like Goran Dragic, I was worried about him because he just was so amazing in the bubble. And then he dealt with that injury, that torn muscle in his foot during the NBA finals. So I thought maybe he wouldn't come back and be the same guy. But no, he's been having a wonderful season so far. And it's mostly just been a matter of they haven't had Jimmy Butler at 100% this season. He's been really coasting. And recently they've been playing without Tyler Hero. They've had a few games without Bam Adebayo. I think they're missing Jay Crowder. Mo Harkless, he's been a big disappointment for them. He hasn't played very well at all, and now he's kind of fallen out of the rotation. But I still like the concept of this Heat team. The one guy who's really impressed me is Precious Achiuwa, because
definitely.
I don't know if I believe that he can step up and fill the role Jay Crowder had last year. And really, I don't even think that Jay Crowder could fill the role that Jay Crowder played last year, because
I agree.
He was shooting way over his head in the playoffs. And sure, it sounds nice in theory to have a like 6'8" guy who's super strong and can defend the best wings in the NBA, and he also shoots 38% from three. But I don't think Jay Crowder would be able to repeat that performance. He was playing the best basketball of the last 3 years of his career during the bubble. Yeah. And I was a little bit optimistic about Mo Harkless. I thought that was about as good as they could have possibly done to replace Crowder. That has not been the case. Achiuwa is interesting, though, because I think he's a better defender than Crowder. He's already probably one of the best defenders in the NBA, which I know that's a bold statement, but he's so strong and he moves his feet so quickly, and he's also such an explosive leaper that he can really, like, aside from the quickest guards, he can really like stick with anybody and get good contests, but he's just so limited offensively. And especially if you're playing Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, that's just not very much shooting to have on the floor.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Bro, you know who's going to maybe make a run in the playoffs? You know, I have faith in?
The Warriors?
No. I think the Spurs.
I mean, they're gonna have to get to the playoffs first.
I like the Spurs. DeJounte Murray is like one of my favorite players to watch now.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. But so I guess, yeah. Do you want to talk about the Jazz really quick, or should we just move on to the next?
Dude, the Jazz are like maybe like the best put together looking team in the league. Like. Yeah. They just seem to do everything right. And like they're like all on the same page. Like they don't have like necessarily talent that jumps off the book, but they're all on the same page and clicking, and hard to beat, dude. Like,
yeah, and it's like they have two elite ball handlers in Conley and Mitchell. Conley had kind of fallen off last year, but he's back and better than ever this season. when you pair that with the best screener in the league in Rudy Gobert, you just get those guys so much space to either go downhill or take a pull-up three from beyond the arc. And when you open up that much space and teams are forced to rotate, you might think that could kind of slow the offense down, but no. Then you're leaving guys like Bojan Bogdanovic or Joe Ingles or George Niang or Jordan Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson's been balling.
Yeah, wide open from three, and those guys are just absolutely cashing out this season. Like Jordan Clarkson, he's got to be a prime contender for sixth man of
dude.
right now.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah, just a very impressive start from this Jazz team. I still don't know if I would take them in a playoff series against the Lakers or Clippers, but
I can't yet.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, like, chemistry can carry you through a regular season, and it does matter a lot, but, like, you got it. Like, they don't have the superstars to match up against PG, Kawhi, Serge Ibaka, or LeBron AD. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. And really the only qualified wing defender on that team is Royce O'Neal, Royce O'Neal was awful in the playoffs last year, and he still has one of the lowest usage rate in the NBA. He's basically zero on offense. And so having him be like critical to whatever you're going to do in the playoffs is concerning. And aside from that, like Bogdanovic, Ingles, like Niang, none of those guys are really scaring like a LeBron James or a Kawhi Leonard. And so they just don't really have the high-end defenders to stop a team like that. But they've been an elite regular season team to be sure. So my next tier, are there any teams that you would have the Sixers in this tier, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. I like them a lot right now. I think the additions they made in the offseason were perfect. Obviously, Embiid's playing his best basketball right now. I think he has a good MVP candidate this season.
Yeah, Embiid's amazing.
If he obviously stays out of injuries and keeps playing at this level, I think there's a good chance he is in that conversation. But I like them a lot right now. I think they're pretty serious. I put them. Honestly, I might take them over the Celtics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics swept them last year, and so
I know, but they had like nobody playing though, didn't they?
Yeah, that's true. Not even Ben Simmons was in that series, let alone like Seth Curry and some of their newer additions.
And I think I don't know how the Celtics could stop Joel Embiid. I don't think TT and Tice can bang with him. So
I mean, we saw the Celtics strategy for stopping Embiid last year, and maybe it's different with some of the playmaking or some of the shooting that the Sixers have, but really their strategy was just kind of like to let Embiid beat them, and they would let Embiid get the ball, and they would send the double team and force Embiid to pass, and he's not a great passer.
That's true.
And they didn't have a lot of shooting. So either he would take, more often than not, he'd take a terrible contested mid-ranger and miss it, or he would turn it over, or he would pass it to a guy who just had no idea what to do with it. And then maybe who I love on the Sixers this year is Tyrese Maxey. He's been one of my favorite rookies to watch. Like, he's been a revelation. How crazy is it that he was sort of like the breaking point for Philadelphia in the James Harden trade? Like they would have traded Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle, but Tyrese Maxey was the one guy who was untouchable. And I can't even say that I disagree with that, because Tyrese Maxey, he's just been spectacular this year. Like, kind of the poise he has as a ball handler as a rookie is just unreal. Like, he's so patient out of the pick and roll, and he uses like change of pace so effectively to kind of get by defenders, and he's so good at like using timing and like using those like wrong foot finishes to kind of get the defender in the air early and then underneath them or around them. Like, he just has such a mature way of playing for such a rookie. So yeah, he's been awesome. I still think that I don't like him in the playoffs just because Joel Embiid, he's been amazing during the regular season, but he just has so many weaknesses that teams have exploited over and over again in the playoffs. And I don't really know. His game will have had to evolve a lot in the time of 1 year for him to be.
No, yeah, that's definitely a very reasonable concern and argument. I just hope that, like, he's obviously responding in the regular season to what happened last year, and I hope that he like has a plan for the playoffs. But yeah, I definitely could see the argument against him.
And I imagine, Channon, you're still taking the Nets to make the finals, right?
Yes.
Your preseason prediction for the finals was Lakers over Nets, and that is still looking very good right now.
Yeah.
Still, my preseason prediction was Lakers over Heat, and I think that the Heat have what it takes. I think there are a couple.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's out of possibility.
I hope the Heat can avoid the Nets because I think the Nets are the one team that they don't match up with well at all. But if they play the Bucks again, I'm taking the Heat.
I'm taking the Heat over the Bucks.
Yeah, Celtics, that would be an interesting series. We saw that last year. That was one of the best series in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, it was. That was a fun one.
So I guess you led off with the Sixers, and the Sixers were the top team in my next tier. And
that's what I figured.
Is this the 5th tier?
This is the 4th tier.
Fourth tier?
Yeah, so just as a recap so far, for me, 1st tier, Lakers, Clippers. 2nd tier, Bucks, Nets. 3rd tier, Jazz, Celtics, Heat, Mavericks. 4th tier, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Denver, and Indiana.
Actually, you know what? If I was going to swap at the Sixers, I might swap them out with the Mavericks instead of the Celtics.
Yeah.
For my tier.
Yeah.
For my tier, but I could see either way. Okay, so wait. Did you just say your next tier?
Yeah, it's Philadelphia, Phoenix, Denver, and Indiana.
Okay, cool. Damn, you're rocking with the Suns? Okay.
Yeah, I like Indiana a lot.
I do too.
The Suns, they've been an interesting team because Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they've kind of have yet to find their rhythm, especially Devin Booker. Like Chris Paul has just been kind of doing normal Chris Paul things. He's just been a little bit passive, hasn't been playing a lot of minutes. He's just kind of coasting through this regular season. I think like we kind of thought he would. He's definitely getting up there in age. He's on a like pseudo contract year. He's got a player option at the end of this year. So in theory, it would be a year where he wants to kind of stay healthy and have a good showing in the playoffs and maybe like decline his player option and sign like a long-term deal with Phoenix to have like security going into his late 30s. But I think that's kind of outside the scope of what we're talking about right now. But Phoenix, they've just been off to a great start, and it's really been their role players like Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. All those guys are kind of
DeAndre Ayton's been really good.
Yeah. Oh, and then Cam Payne, he looked awesome in the bubble, and he's kept that up this year, which I was not sure if that would be the case. I thought maybe the bubble was a fluke. I'd never really been a Cam Payne believer, but no, he's been playing very well this season too.
Yeah, for sure.
And
then Indiana.
In Indiana, just one last Sun thought. It's obviously way too early to think about stuff like this, but in previous configurations of my playoff bracket, most notably the original one at the beginning of the year, where I think I had the Clippers 2nd and I had the Suns 7th. I think Suns against Clippers, how fun of a matchup would that be? Because
that'd be dope.
They've got so many elite wing defenders like Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, even Cam Johnson's got a lot of size and strength.
And they're just a fiery playoff team. I mean, we saw how they played in the bubble last year. I think they can turn it up in the playoffs.
And the Clippers, whether it was their blown 3-1 lead against the Nuggets, whether it was losing by 50 to Dallas or surrendering that atrocious or having that atrocious loss where they let the Warriors come back from down 20. Like this Clippers team is very combustible. Like they can let go of the rope pretty easily. And Chris Paul has a way of like getting underneath people's skin. Like I definitely feel like if there's a crack in the Clippers armor, like Chris Paul is not the guy who I'd be wanting to go against if I were.
Yeah, he's that same type of Draymond Green.
Yeah, and so I think Suns against Clippers. I don't know if I'd pick the Suns, but that would be a fascinating series. And so
I'm excited to see Booker in the playoffs. He's built for the playoffs. His game is built for the playoffs.
Yeah, such an amazing isolation score. I've been excited to see Booker in the playoffs for a long time. And this is going to be the year where we see it. The Suns are going to make the playoffs. I'm pretty confident about that. I would have They might even contend for home court advantage. I don't know about that. But, yeah, should we talk about...
Wait, really quick side note. Remember when I said the Timberwolves were going to win like 15 games or something like that?
It's looking pretty good.
It's looking good, baby.
They've been the worst team in the NBA so far. They're net rating.
Yep.
Poor guys.
Con, you wanted to talk about the Pacers, right?
Sure, dude. But Karis LeVert hurt? Yes. No, he had a kidney thing.
Yeah.
That's trash. Yeah, that's garbage. But I love Sabonis, love Brogdon, and then you got the Holiday brothers. I like that team. Who else?
Miles Turner.
Oh yeah, Miles Turner. Duh.
An early Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, actually, you know what they kind of remind me of is sort of like a lower tier Jazz of the East, where they kind of don't necessarily have an insane amount of talent, like superstar, but
they got
play
Doug
really well together and they're on the same page. Oh, dude, you know who I hate is TJ McConnell, bro.
I like McDermott too. Yeah,
I deserve his roster spot, dude.
They actually kind of remind me of this year's version of last year's Heat team because they sort of have like an interesting kind of unique big man that they run their offense through. So like for the Heat, that is Bam Adebayo, and then for the Pacers, it's Domantas Sabonis, and then they've got a point guard who's like a very good shooter from like a standstill. Doesn't do a ton off the dribble, but can like has a good floater package and can like hit open shooters. So like that's either Goran Dragic or Malcolm Brogdon, both kind of similar players, like TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler. Wings.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, I mean we have to see TJ Warren first. I'm really hoping he can kind of build off his performance from the bubble last year.
Yeah.
But he's missed so much time due to injury recently that may not be a certainty. But yeah, I think this Pacers team is dangerous. I don't think they're competing with the Bucks or the Nets. They don't have that kind of firepower. And the especially against the Bucks, like I really don't think they're gonna be able to slow down Giannis. I mean, maybe Miles Turner can surprise me, but I don't know. It's too early to like start thinking too closely about those specific matchups. I just love this Pacers team as a regular season team. I also think they're super well coached. Nate Bjorkgren has really kind of brought the best out of them because last year they shot like the lowest amount of 3-pointers in the league, and they've got some very good shooters on this team, like Doug McDermott, Brogdon, even Sabonis is letting them fly. He's a solid shooter for like a center, but who else am I forgetting? Justin Holiday. Yeah. He is a talented shooter. So I do think Nate Bjorkgren is kind of picking some of the low-hanging fruit. And he coached a brilliant game against the Warriors as well when the Pacers beat the Warriors. And Nate Bjorkgren, for those of you guys listening to the podcast who don't know, they hired him as an assistant coach out of Toronto, and he was the guy who was credited with the idea to run a box and one against the Warriors in the 2019 NBA Finals. And so they went back to that when they played the Warriors a couple weeks ago, and Steph Curry got absolutely shut down, and the Pacers won that game. And so I think Nate Bjorkgren, I think that's just another example of a team firing a coach who was doing good but not great in Nate McMillan, and then finding someone even better. Like you can definitely draw the parallels to Toronto. They fired Dwayne Casey after Dwayne Casey won the Coach of the Year and it led him to like several consecutive playoff berths. And it was a very controversial decision, but then they got Nick Nurse, who was the best coach in the league. And just a kind of a similar situation here in Indiana. Like Nate McMillan's a good coach, but it looks like Nate Bjorkgren might really be able to take Indiana to the next level. So hopefully that becomes true.
Yeah, that game was stupid because it was tight the whole entire game. And then the Pacers went on a run at the end and won.
Yeah.
Dumb. Yeah. I honestly think the Warriors were winning that entire game almost. It's so stupid. That's a stinger.
The Nuggets, they've been really disappointing this season.
They shouldn't be, dude. They have so many good players.
Well, I mean, that might be the problem. They might not, but Nikola Jokic, he has been having one of the best seasons in the NBA so far.
Yeah.
At least offensively. He's been phenomenal. And then Jamal Murray, he's been like maybe he'll get better. I picked him as like a contender for the All-Star game in our last podcast. I mean, now that I know John Morant's back and shit, I think I'd take a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't actually know how much I think Jamal will make the All-Star team. He might be more of like a fringe guy, but yeah, he's definitely been disappointing for people who thought he'd be able to continue what he did in the playoffs last year. No, that hasn't been true so far. He's always been such an inconsistent guy. It's a kind of feast or famine with Jamal Murray, and it's definitely been he's definitely had a lot of those famine games. He's still had a few good games. I mean, he's averaging 20 a night, and so the offense hasn't been terrible, but it's really been the other guys who have been the problem. Like Gary Harris, he's been atrocious shooting. Will Barton, after he had a really solid regular season last year before getting injured, Will Barton's just given them nothing. Michael Porter Jr., he actually looked outstanding in the first week or so of the season before missing almost a month because he could not stay out of the COVID protocol. And so I think Michael Porter Jr. is finally going to come back in the next couple of days. That should help them out a little bit. And then the bench, that's been a big thing as well. The Nuggets have always been a team who's had this great bench, whether it was like Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee, Monte Morris, Malik Beasley last year, and even Will Barton for several weeks of the season. He was a guy they had coming off the bench. Or this season, I mean, sorry. Yeah, this season when Michael Porter Jr. was healthy, they had Will Barton coming off the bench. But anyway, the bench just has not been the Nuggets bench we've known and loved from the past couple of years. Facundo Campazzo, he's kind of struggled to get into. He's kind of struggled to kind of find how his game applies in an NBA setting. He's been a bit of a disappointment. JaMychal Green has helped them some, but has mostly struggled to shoot and hasn't really given them much on defense. Isaiah Hartenstein, he has been
at Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he's been a marked downgrade from Mason Plumlee. And then Bol, as much as some people would like him to succeed in the few games he's played, he has not been very good. And so
didn't Wiseman put him on a poster?
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as the one Nurkic put him on in the bubble.
In the bubble?
Yeah.
That was bad. Dude.
But I still struggle to see why people are so enchanted by Bol. I just think
he's so long.
I'm not a fan. But I do think obviously the Nuggets, they're not going to be a 500 team all season. I would think they're probably going to turn it
Imagine they missed the playoffs
at some point. Yeah. I do think this run we've had over the last few years of the Nuggets getting home court advantage in the playoffs, that would seem to not.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if I'm taking them over. Like, they're not better than the Jazz or Mavericks or
Suns.
Yeah, dude. Their spot is kind of getting.
Yeah, and I think they're a healthy Trailblazer team. I would probably take them over the Nuggets, but who knows when we're going to see the healthy Trailblazers. Do you guys have any last thoughts about those four teams before I move on to my next tier?
Get Bol in a Raptors uni. He'll be perfect. Get him with Boucher.
Yeah, honestly.
And Siakam.
Yeah,
and OG. That would be fire.
Have you guys seen the memes of Siakam just like spinning over and over again? So funny, dude.
Yeah, pretty much copy and paste that for any young player. They're very. You could put me in the Raptors development system, and I would an MVP.
No doubt, dude. Jonah, logo Willard, dude. I mean,
so moving on. Speaking of the Raptors, my next tier is Toronto, Portland, Golden State, Memphis, and Atlanta.
Hey, that's a saucy lineup there. Those are some good sleeper teams. I'm telling you, Toronto's nice.
And if Portland was healthy, they'd be in the tier up with Philadelphia, Phoenix, Denver, and Indiana. But that will not.
They're struggling, dude.
What's the timeline on McCollum's injury?
Like 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
Shit, dude.
Yeah, I think that's when he's going to get reevaluated. So
Yeah, reevaluated in 4 weeks, and then
and
baby.
I was listening to I forget what it was called, but it was this medical YouTube channel that like breaks down sports injuries.
So that guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he's cool.
And he was doing the one about CJ McCollum. And since the NBA started tracking injuries since 2005, nobody's broken the bone that CJ McCollum broke. And
wow.
And it was a very gruesome injury. Like I was pretty surprised when it was just a sprain because it looked awful. He went in for a layup and he basically twisted his ankle. And while his ankle was twisted, Clint Capella's entire body weight landed on top of the foot and basically kind of compressed it from the top down. And
that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be an all-star, bro.
Yeah, he was having the best season of his career by far. We talked about this on the All-Star video last week. Just there wasn't a guard in the West who had played better than him up to that point. And what's even more amazing is CJ McCollum went on to play on that broken foot for another quarter and was amazing. Even with
might as well just keep playing, honestly.
Yeah, even with a broken foot, what did he hit? Like 2 or 3 more 3-pointers after that? I thought it was a sprain at that point because he looked just fine. He was playing awesome, even on the broken foot. But
oh shit.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what didn't look bad though was Nurkic's injury.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he broke his hand on that.
Yeah, so what actually happened was he swiped at the ball in Brogdon's hand and he completely missed it. And then as his hand was going down, he slammed his wrist against the knee of
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Apparently he hit his wrist against a really hard bone in the knee, and so it just kind of broke in that way.
So weird, dude. That's such a freaking...
just like McCollum's, just 2 freak accidents. Nurkic, I would even be loath to call him an injury-prone guy, just because really the only major injury he's had in his career has just been a completely bad luck, and this is another example of that, just super unlucky, as was McCollum's. There's you can't really call McCollum injury prone because there's very few players in the NBA who wouldn't break their foot from having Capella land on it the way he landed on the ball. And so just a terrible streak of bad luck for this Blazers team. And those were back-to-back games, right? He played Atlanta the first game after Indiana, so just a terrible stretch for Portland.
I was worried freaking Dame was going to go down the next game or something, bro.
Against the Spurs, he kind of got tossed under the basket and came up grabbing his shoulder, but luckily he was okay. And this Blazers team, like Channon was saying earlier in the podcast, every team so far has just kind of had a few games where they've just looked awful and kind of left you scratching their head. And so I think it's kind of important just to judge what teams look like at their best. And at their best, I think the Blazers are really everything we thought they could be. I mean, the game specifically against the Lakers, they looked very good in that game. Just having Derek Jones and Robert Covington. Derek Jones has been the really good one-on-one defender we hoped he could be, and Robert Covington kind of takes an entire side of the floor out of play just because you can't dribble the ball close to him. So the defense has been much improved, even though they're still one of the worst defenses in the league. And
if we had a healthy Nurkic and Collins, dude, the defense would be so good.
And maybe we will at some point, hopefully. There's still no timetable for Zach's return.
Collins feels like he's dead, dude. He feels like he's dead.
Yeah.
When was the last time I even saw him, dude?
Yeah, he has not been in attendance at the games anymore either. So yeah, just a disappointing season so far for the Blazers. Damian Lillard, he's been off to not a bad start, but just I think me and Channon both picked him to be top 2 in the MVP votes. Channon might have even had him number 1, and he definitely hasn't had that season so far. Although with McCollum out, I think
he'll probably turn it up.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be surprised to see Dame kind of turn it up. I was excited to see us play against the Grizzlies, though, because that's another team in this tier. The Blazers, Grizzlies, Warriors, Pelicans, and Spurs. those 5 teams should be kind of in that play-in game bubble this entire season. And so, let's talk about the Grizzlies, because John Morant's came back on, what was it? It must have been on like Thursday or Friday.
And he came back ready to go.
Yeah. He's having a monster year. And just some of the shot making, especially on layups, has just been incredible. Like that one he hit over DeAndre Ayton, which was kind of that Nash layup where you don't touch the ball with the other hand. You just go straight from dribbling to laying it up with the same hand, and he lofted it over DeAndre Ayton. Like, just
high off the glass.
Yeah, his touch from inside has just been ridiculous. He's
really impressive.
Yeah, he's definitely turning it up. And as soon as Jaren Jackson comes back, this Grizzlies offense is just going to be amazing. They've been getting good production from their rookie players as well. Desmond Bane, he looks like he's going to be a pretty good shooter in the NBA. And Xavier Tillman has been providing pretty good rim protection and rebounding from kind of that undersized center mold. He, in theory, might be able to stretch the floor a little bit at some point in his career. So, I think of the young teams in the Western Conference, even maybe more than the Mavericks right now. I'm very optimistic about the future of this Grizzlies team.
Yeah, it's a surprise for me. I was a big doubter before the season that they look a lot better than I thought they would.
Yeah, I definitely was a bit of a doubter too. Like, they were on the playoff bubble last season. I thought they might be taking a step back this year.
Me too. I didn't think they would even be in the conversation for playoffs, really.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd be on that bubble either, but it looks like they will be. I think this Grizzlies team is here to stay. They're looking really good. And one of their biggest competitors for that 8th seed is going to be the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Kellan, do you want to talk about why have the Warriors been such a big disappointment this year?
We're a game above 500 though.
You picked them to be the number 1 team.
I only have 5 more buffers before they have to win out. And they can only lose 5 more games before they have to win out.
And you picked them to be a championship team, and thus far they
played championship basketball against the Spurs.
Yeah, so they've been right around 500.
Well, I don't know if you can call it championship basketball if it's against the Spurs.
Hey, the Spurs aren't that bad. When you got Pop on your side, anything's possible.
So what's gone wrong?
Pop looked like he's about to stroke out.
So what's the difference between where they are right now and 55 wins?
Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. When they're not shooting the ball well, it's crappy. And when you lose your best defender, like against because Julius Randle, dude, he was just picking us apart. Like, everybody was crashing on him, and then like he would just kick it out to open guys. But it was so funny. There was one point, Jonah, do you remember this? When Julius Randle, he had the ball down low, and he tried to body up Draymond, and Draymond was a brick wall, and he did not move. He did like 3 things where he tried to move Draymond. Draymond did not budge.
Yep, that's net for most players in the NBA. That's just never gonna work.
But Julius Randle's massive.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude.
No match for Draymond Green. One Warriors thought I kind of had while I was watching their game against the Lakers is, who would look really good in a Warriors uniform and would solve a lot of what ails them?
Klay Thompson.
Tyrese Halliburton, who they could have picked 2nd overall. And I know at the time nobody was really talking about Halliburton for the 2nd overall pick. I think I had him in our mock draft as the 4th overall pick, and I think even I was a little bit higher than what the consensus was on him. So
Jonah knew.
So hindsight is 2020. But Tyrese Halliburton, he'd be so good on this Warriors team because he's kind of like Kent Bazemore, that sort of off-ball shark type player. He'd get a lot of steals. And just having another guy who could run in transition, but also an elite knockdown shooter. Like, he's shooting upwards of like 40 to 45% from beyond the arc, I think. And that's almost all on catch and shoot threes. Like, he would fit so perfectly into this Warriors mold. And instead you have James Wiseman.
Shut up. Dude, do you not like Wiseman or something?
Yeah, I've been very disappointed by what I've seen.
He sucks, bro.
Yeah. He's so bad. He's terrible. He's the worst player ever.
The physical tools are like still intriguing. Like like any player,
his mid range is kind of flat sometimes. Okay, whatever. But like when they put him in the dunker spot and they feed him, it's over.
Yeah, the mid range was never really going to be a thing. That would have just been the icing on the cake if he'd been able to shoot mid rangers. What's been the most concerning is just how bad he is at rebounding, how bad his defensive instincts are, and how he can barely like catch the basketball. Like even Draymond
up, Jonah.
Draymond Green's mom. Did you guys see what Draymond Green's mom tweeted?
No.
It was something to the effect of the coaches should just throw balls at this kid's face until they'll teach him how to catch the basketball. And so
mean.
His mom tweeted that?
Yeah, no, Draymond Green's mom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But Draymond Green is like the biggest influence on James Wiseman.
Oh, that is so funny, dude.
That's so mean, dude. I don't even think
that is so funny.
I don't even think what do you mean? Like catching passes and stuff or lobs?
Or rebounds would be the biggest thing.
Well, but it's kind of tough when you have guys like Bazemore and
it's not tough.
And
it's not tough.
Oubre that are, dude, they're ferocious when they go up and get boards. I'm telling you.
No, it doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah,
maybe Oubre, but the other guys you only named one guy over 6'5", bro.
No, that's what I'm saying. That I'm not telling, dude. They're tenacious getting boards. The smaller guys.
If you're a 7-footer with an amazing wingspan and elite athleticism, and you were the second overall pick, and Damian Lee is preventing you from getting rebounds.
No, I'm just saying that's just how it be though. Nerlens Noel went up for a ball and Bazemore snatched that shit out of the air.
No, dude.
I'm telling that's just how it is.
That is tragic, bro.
He had more rebounds last night though, I think.
Well, it's not even about total number of rebounds because he's at the end of the day, he's going to get a ton of rebounds just because of playing center and being as tall as he is. It's just kind of his instincts for boxing out, his knowing what way the ball is going to come off the rim. I think that's an underrated part of rebounding. Is like some guys like
that's why I like Enes Kanter is really good.
Yeah, Enes Kanter, that's a good point too. And even like Draymond Green, like some guys just. Oh, and LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball's been
you read where the ball comes off.
Yeah, some guys are just really good at reading where the ball's going to come off, and like James Wiseman, that's not been the case for him yet. And so,
dude, stop hating, Jonah. But what's your honest assessment of James Wiseman? Because it can't be that bad. Like,
oh yeah, he's been a disappointment to me. I think if I were to redraft, the NBA draft, I think I'd have Wiseman probably like 5 or 6. Like I'd definitely take LaMelo over him. Obviously, I had LaMelo over him to begin with. I'd still take Tyrell Terry over him, even though we haven't seen Tyrell Terry this season. I'm still intrigued. I'd definitely take Halliburton over him. I'd probably go with Anthony Edwards over him as well, and then maybe Isaac Okoro.
Did you watch the Spurs game though?
Against the Warriors? No, I didn't. But he had a great game there. I saw the box score. So
he had a good game.
I might have to go back and watch the clips from that one.
You missed his best game because I told my dad, I'm like, Jonah doesn't like Wiseman. And he's like, are you really? Because like Wiseman, 8 of 11, 20 points. He only had like 6 rebounds though.
Yeah, but who's guarding him, bro?
Nobody. That's the thing.
Eubanks?
You can't guard him. No. Pirtle.
Yeah, I was
Jakob's not bad.
And I was interested to see in that game. I wanted to watch it, and I don't know what got in the way of me watching it. I just didn't for some reason. They were really taking advantage of how slow-footed and how little awareness Enes Kanter kind of had, and how like limited he is as a defender, and just giving LaMarcus all you can eat mid-rangers. I was kind of curious to see.
Yeah, bro. Oh my goodness, bro. I was Steph? Like, literally, just let me guard him.
Yeah. I was curious if Wiseman would be able to kind of slow down that play, and I guess apparently he did because Aldridge did not have a great game against the Warriors.
Did you see Steph when he drove? He faked out Aldridge and another guy, and then who was it? It was Vassell in the corner.
Oh, I saw that.
Passed out, and then he laid it up. That was crazy.
Yeah, I missed that one, but yeah, that did. Just judging off that, like obviously the final score, and the Warriors pretty much led from start to finish in that game, so that was a pretty dominating performance from them. Yeah, and then the other 2 teams I have in this tier are the Raptors and the Hawks. We don't need to talk about them
I think the Raptors suck. I take the Hawks over the Raptors. Okay, I can't say that. Never mind.
Dude, the Raptors are not bad.
No,
Why
I
are
just
you
don't like
hating?
them, bro. Yeah, I want to take them over the Hawks, but
Kyle
they're on the
Fred,
same level.
Siakam, and OG.
Dude, Siakam sucks.
Boucher?
He sucks.
Stop
He
it.
sucks. No, he sucks.
No.
I
Siakam
still
sucks.
No.
I still think the Hawks are going to be dangerous once they can get everybody healthy. Just
Me too.
going off of those 2 games they played against Brooklyn about 2 or 3 weeks ago, like their offense is so dangerous. And Trae Young, he's been having a pretty bad year. He just has the ball's got to go into the basket for him at some point. But
It's the name of the game.
yep, I think this Hawks team is. I think we're going to hear from them again. I think they're 500 right now. They're like 7-7. And I mean, yeah, they'll probably hover around 500 all year, but I think the offense is going to pick up a ton.
Wait, Jonah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Since they're already paying Oubre and like Clay's already, do you think they'll trade Clay, or do you think that we'll just keep Oubre and have Clay too next year?
Next year? Oh, well, I mean, Oubre will probably like leave in free agency, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. But what?
Yeah. Definitely.
It's a little bit early to tell. I mean, maybe Joe Lacob is fine spending even more money, because theoretically next year is the year that the Warriors might want to go all in one last time. You've got Klay Thompson, you've got Draymond and Steph. It will be the last year of Steph's contract too, if I'm not mistaken. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, so we'll see what they decide to do. It's hard to imagine them re-signing Kelly Oubre, but maybe they will. So my next tier is Spurs, Pelicans, Hornets.
Spurs, Pelicans, Hornets. I like the Spurs the best. Is that probably your top team out there?
I like all those teams actually.
I don't really mess with the Pelicans, honestly.
You don't
mess
with
with the
Zion?
Pelicans, or you do?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me. I think the Jazz played them twice this week, and the Jazz beat them by 10 plus both times, and they definitely exposed some pretty big weaknesses. There's just not a whole lot of perimeter creation on this team, especially in the half court, like Lonzo and Eric Bledsoe. They're not really striking fear in the hearts of any defense.
Lonzo's low-key depressing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he's low-key bad, and like it makes me feel bad for him because LaMelo's way better than him.
Oh, yeah.
But we knew this.
It's depressing, bro.
Yeah. And then Brandon Ingram, he can really only do so much to save him. Zion is having a great statistical season so far, just because he's so efficient around the rim. He's got insane touch, and he keeps finding ways to either like get offensive rebounds or find holes in the defense and just make an impact just by knowing to be in the right space at the right time. But he's still not a super impactful player. You know what I mean? Because even though he's got a like higher usage rate, he just doesn't have the ball in his hands very often. And
to me, Brandon Ingram's way better than Zion.
Than Lonzo?
Yeah,
you don't say.
If not better, he's at least like more important to their way they run their offense for sure.
Yeah, I think Brandon Ingram would be more like he could be more important to a winning team to me.
Yeah, maybe. Although that's a good question. We might have to table that and actually do a little segment on that in another part. That's an interesting question, because Zion, his defense was like the main criticism of him last year, and I think he's actually taken measures to improve that, at least this year. Like, his effort is way better than last year. Last year, if he had to close down and sort of protect the rim or rotate over there, there's just no way he'd ever go to the perimeter, close out a jump shot, and he's actually doing that from time to time this year. So I just think his kind of give a crap meter about defense has gone a little bit up, and I think that kind of makes sense because Stan Van Gundy is a guy who definitely is going to hold him accountable for those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But the offense has not been good so far. Their defense has actually been better than I expected. Their offense has been much, much worse. So yeah, and then the Spurs, I am intrigued by them, especially when Derek White comes back.
Yeah.
The Spurs, they're just, I don't know where they're really going from here because they've kind of been stuck in this kind of phase for the past couple of years ever since the Kawhi trade, where they have Aldridge and DeRozan. They have kind of these older guys on the team who are still playing pretty well.
Yeah, they're playing well, but like, what are you gonna do with them?
Yeah,
DeMar's
really
only like 30 years old though.
Nah, he's older than that.
Yeah, but
right?
That's still older than what they should be. They should be the most focused on like Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Lonnie Walker, maybe Jakob Poeltl.
He's 31.
Keldon Johnson, just some of these younger guys, Devin Vassell now. But they're still a good team this season.
I wanted DeMar to end up on like the Lakers or something like that because he's from LA.
Yeah.
I want him to get a ring, bro. I feel bad because the whole Kawhi thing.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It is what it is, man. It's all business at the end of the day.
And then the last team in this tier is the Hornets, who they've been my favorite team to watch this year, or at least one of them. They've been extremely entertaining. LaMelo Ball has been as good as I expected him to be. He's probably shooting a little bit better. Maybe that could be kind of considered unsustainable. But then kind of like on the flip side of that coin, like Devontae Graham, his shooting is bound to improve at some point. He's been miserable.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Yeah. And then Gordon Hayward, I know I kind of hated on them for that signing in the offseason. And I still don't know if it was the right decision to kind of push their resources into like being as good as they can in the immediate future. But Gordon Hayward, he's been having an amazing season on the Hornets so far. So
he has.
He
really has.
And the most impressive thing is they've been doing all of this without like a real center. Like they have Bismack Biyombo, but Cody Zeller's missed pretty much the entire season so far. So it's really been a patchwork quilt of Bismack Biyombo and then some small ball center lineups with either like a Jalen McDaniels or more often like PJ Washington. And so how they're keeping their defensive rating above like the bottom 10 is beyond me. But the Hornets are definitely playing much better than I expected. And I think they might be a team who we see like competing for, if not a playoff spot, then the playing game. And I think if they match up like against the Hawks and the 8 seeds on the line, like I would not count the Hornets out of that matchup. And so just an interesting team to keep an eye on.
Bro, I have a question. Jonah, you know Reggie Bullock or whatever on the Knicks?
Yeah.
What's the thing on the back of his head? It looked like he had like a weird like piercing thing, or maybe like a dread fell out. But I was so confused because it looked like there was like a cross thing behind his head, and I was wondering if it was like a weird body piercing. Or not, it wasn't a cross. I couldn't tell exactly because his like hair dangles and stuff, but it was like creeping me out. I'm like, what is that?
I don't think you're allowed to have piercings on during the games, and so it's probably not that. Was it like a tattoo or like a birthmark? Maybe.
I don't know. It looked like an external thing though. It was really odd. Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, could it have been like maybe he had a scar back there and those were like stitches or something?
Oh, could have been. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Did he get in it? Did he get injured lately?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Is that? Wait, what other teams were in this category? It was the
Spurs, Pelicans, and Hornets, and then my next tier is the Cavaliers, Rockets, Kings.
The best tier of them all. Oh wait, no, there's one more after that, huh?
2 more tiers after this.
2 more tiers. Oh my god.
Cavaliers, Rockets, Kings.
Yeah. We can start to go fast through some of these teams. These are the teams who will not be making the playoffs.
Who's your favorite team in that tier?
It's got to be the Cavaliers at this point.
Really?
I think so. Because
who's your second?
Oh, well, I have to see. I still don't know what to expect from the Rockets.
No, the Rockets suck. Go with the Kings, bro. I'm taking the Kings.
Didn't Victor have a good debut?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But John Wall is finally starting to miss a few games with knee soreness. Which
there it is.
The Rockets, they made a trade just last night. They traded a second-round pick, top 50
that's right.
protected, for Kevin Porter Jr. I don't
Because
know
you had
how
a food fight in the locker room.
I don't know how you guys feel about this.
Who even is Kevin Porter Jr.?
What happened?
You had a food fight in the locker room, and they were like, "We're trading you."
A little bit concerned about this trade, not so much from a basketball standpoint, but Kevin Porter Jr. has obviously had a very troubled past couple of years, and the Houston Rockets may not be the best environment. Like, this Rockets team is not known for their off the court stability. Whether it's John Wall has been very prevalently kind of involved in at least representing gang life. He was seen like at a party over the summer, massive, with a variety of hard drugs.
I forgot about when he would throw up gang signs and get fined, or they had like banned that.
Yeah, DeMarcus Cousins was in the news about a year ago for threatening to kill a girlfriend.
Yeah, we know about DeMarcus Cousins too. We heard the Drake line. I might go DeMarcus Cousins out in public.
Yeah. Daniel House, he's been noted for some of his. And
what happened in the bubble?
What happened to House? What did he do?
Well, his name's Daniel House Call for a reason, but you just have to question if this is really the best team for a really troubled young adult like Kevin Porter Jr.
That is so true, dude. That's like, so bad.
Maybe you might want to like put that kid into a more stable environment, but we'll see how it goes. This might be baptism by fire for him.
Dude, I forgot about John Wall and his gang activity, dude. That is so funny.
Yeah, so should be
dude, they're building a culture in Houston.
Yeah,
damn.
Dude, Trav bounced out of Houston, bro. Trav's a Brooklyn net now.
Nice, that's smart. And this Rockets team is like the modern incarnation. I was about to say
incarceration.
Incarnation of the Jailblazer teams from like
facts.
The early 2000s and stuff.
Oh,
wow. Incarceration.
So, yeah,
that's funny.
That's a Freudian slip if I ever saw one.
Facts.
But so that's it for that tier. My next tier is Wizards, Bulls, Knicks. The Knicks have had a surprising record. I don't know if they're much better than I thought they would be. They're really benefiting from some opponent shooting luck. They've still got one of the worst net ratings in the league. I'm not very optimistic about this team. Like right now, they've got I think an above average offense, and there's just no way that's going to hold for the rest of the season. They've just got too little spacing. Julius Randle, he's shooting way better than you would expect. RJ Barrett, likewise. And RJ Barrett, he's not really been shooting the three ball particularly well in the way Randle has, but some of his mid-range stuff is probably less sustainable. And so I do think this Knicks team is prime for a big regression. I don't know when exactly that will take place, but they will not be maintaining this 500 record for much longer. And so one bright spot for them has been Emmanuel Quickley. I'm a big fan of what I've seen from Quickley so far. Some of his floaters and stuff that he hits are like 2 steps outside of the free throw line, and just some amazing touch and some amazing skill on those shots. And so Quickley's got a game that I really like. He's a pretty good shooter too. He hasn't done a whole lot with the ball in his hands with the starters on the floor, so it's kind of hard to get a read on what some of his passing and what some of his other point guard skills are like at this point. But at the very minimum, he looks like a guy who will maybe be able to score a bit as a backup. Like, I think he kind of reminds me of what Kobe White is a little bit so far, which is for a guy who was drafted in the late 20s and what was supposed to be a subpar draft. I mean, got to be happy with that. I think the Knicks found a keeper with Quickley. Their other rookie, Obi Toppin, he hasn't played much. He's missed most of the season so far, but he's shown some decent athleticism.
You see his monster slam yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
He definitely can dunk the basketball. Can he do anything else is going to be the question. Like the shooting, people thought he might be a good shooter. We're going to have to see if that turns out to be true. And the defense. His defense thus far, small sample, has been about as bad as we expected.
Yeah. I'm happy that Warriors.
And then the Wizards. Some people thought the Wizards might be competing for the 8th seed this year. I don't think anybody on this podcast thought that.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody was fooled on this show.
No.
And they've been pretty bad. They're the other team in this tier.
Russell Westbrook sucks.
Yeah, Bradley Beal has been amazing, as good as he was last year. He's the leading scorer in the NBA right now. And so he's just shooting the lights out of the ball mid-range. He's only 37% from three, so it's not like he's doing anything that's like too crazily unsustainable. He's just an elite scorer, and hopefully we get to see him on another team this year. Like
Miami.
Oh yeah, Miami would be cool. Philadelphia would be a fun fit as well.
Damn, that would be
So yeah, that does it for that tier. Wrapping it up with the worst 4 teams in the NBA. Channon.
There's 4 left.
Yeah, Channon, you talked about this team earlier. The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, they suck.
The Oklahoma City Thunder, who are still
it's not really their fault.
Some respectability, but you imagine the gravity of the season is going to pull them down at some point.
Yeah, it's not really their fault. I don't really blame the players. Like they just.
Yeah, it's just the Thunder don't even want to win this year. They're all non-tanking. The Orlando Magic, who are just sort of the walking wounded right now, and the
dude, I felt so bad for what's his butt getting injured. Sucks.
Yeah,
he was balling.
Yeah, so the Timberwolves, Cats missed a ton of time. And so I do think that the Timberwolves are pretty clearly the best team out of these 4, right?
Of who? Dude, I'm taking the Magic over the Timberwolves.
Oh, you are? Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting because they're kind of I don't know, they're kind of
who does the Magic even have?
So that's a good question. That's probably a good place to start out. They've got Cole Anthony.
Oh, Cole Anthony.
Dude, ridiculous.
No, Vucevic is nice, bro.
And
Vucevic is nice.
Vucevic, to his credit, is having an amazing season. They've still got Aaron Gordon, who has had bouts with injury. I think Evan Fournier, he might be coming back from injury soon. So maybe that'll put an end to Dwayne Bacon's stint as the Magic's starting shooting guard.
Mr. Bacon.
Michael Carter-Williams, I think he will be coming back soon. And in other news, Al-Farouq Aminu just had his first practice with the Orlando Magic the other day. So maybe Aminu's year-long absence will be coming to an end soon. That would be nice to see.
Yeah, I'm taking them over the Timberwolves, bro.
What's the Magic's record?
I think they still have a winning record. Oh no, never mind. They don't. They're 7-8. They were off to a tear to start out the season. They had a really great start, and then everybody on their team got injured. Fultz got injured. Fournier got injured.
Fultz, that's his name.
Yeah, and Michael Carter-Williams got injured, and the wheels just kind of started to fall off. Aaron Gordon even missed some time, and Jonathan Isaac would be the other one. Obviously, he got injured in the bubble, but he's probably their best player and has just not seen the court once this season. I would take the Timberwolves over him. I mean, when Karl Anthony Towns comes back, you've still got Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell. I think their offense can at least be like hovering around top 20. Their defense is still going to suck. The Magic, they just don't have anything that they're good at. I mean, they don't really. I think the Magic, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA from here on out. The reason the Timberwolves are in this tier, I actually think the Timberwolves are better than these other 3 teams. But like Channon was saying, the Timberwolves have been off to the worst start in the NBA so far this season. And so the Timberwolves are going to have to kind of catch up to these teams, whereas the other 3 teams are going to be kind of falling down to the Timberwolves. And I think they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. But if I had to pick one team to kind of bounce up and join the Wizards, Bulls, and Knicks, it would be Minnesota, because they still have all the pieces in place of a team that they expected, not us, but they expected would be a competitive team this year. And so So maybe they will delude themselves into thinking once Cat comes back, they can kind of put together a run and find themselves in contention for the playing game. Spoiler alert, that will not turn out well for them. But maybe that's kind of what their thought will be for the rest of the season, which with the Thunder, Magic, and Pistons, you imagine they will probably commit to the tank at this point. This is going to be a pretty good draft, especially a top-heavy draft. Like, teams will want to try to go after like the Cade Cunninghams of the world. I haven't really researched the draft too much, but I know there are a lot of guys teams are excited about in the top 5. And so I think the gravity of this season will just kind of pull some of those weaker teams down. But I do think the Timberwolves will be more committed to maybe having some semblance of a competitive product on the floor, especially as they're trying to sell the team, which is another big thing. I think they'll want to show that they actually have some promising talent on the team. That'll probably help Glenn Taylor find a buyer for his squad, which he's been trying to sell for about the past couple of years now. So yeah, that kind of wraps up all my thoughts on the NBA right now.
You want to give your prediction for Blazers game on Sunday?
Oh, I haven't even looked who we're playing yet.
I think we play the Knicks.
Playing the Knicks.
The Knicks? Yeah, I the Blazers still beat the Knicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Warriors are going to beat the Jazz.
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Well, Wiseman against Gobert. That'll be an interesting matchup.
Oh my. Dude, you're ferocious, Jonah.
Oh no, dude.
Jonah. Oh man. If Jonah was an NBA scout, imagine. Just like a highly touted prospect, be like, fuck this guy, dude.
No, well, I'd be a bad scout because remember when I said James Wiseman was going to be one of the best players in the draft?
Oh my god!
Which I mean,
he's such a good guy. Why are you just hating on him?
I'm not.
Sucks.
I'm not writing him off so far. This is because I still think he's going to be a fine player. This is all just based off me being disappointed from what I've seen in like the first month of his rookie season. So there is still plenty of time for him to have.
Don't try to recover what you've said you can't take back, Jonah.
Well, nor do I want to.
I'll stay strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that maybe.
So we've got a bust from Channon, and we've got a maybe bust from Jonah.
No, not a maybe bust, just a slow start so far. So
do we have a strong bust from Channon?
Chill with that language, bro. Never mind.
If there was one player who
Channon with the strong bust.
just for fun, if I had to pick one player who I think has been a bust so far, and this player's gotten injured, so it's kind of unfair. But before the injury, he was awful. Killian Hayes of the Pistons.
Yeah.
He's been a major disappointment. And then I'd say the biggest pleasant surprise of the draft, maybe besides Quickly, has been Peyton Pritchard for Boston. Pritchard's been awesome.
Dude, he gets a spot just because of his handles video on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was dope.
How's what's your boy from Stanford, Tyrell Terry, doing?
Yeah, he hasn't played whatsoever.
Really?
Only in very limited garbage time minutes.
I thought he was supposed to replace Seth Curry's roles. Yeah,
apparently that has not come to bear thus far. But I still like what Tyrell Terry has. I'm still very optimistic about
Tyrell Terry is going to be playing in the European League, somewhere, and Jonah's going to be like, I love his game.
Very possible.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it? How many we got through how many tiers were there? 8?
9.
9. Sick. Cool. You should send me the order.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right. Bye, guys.
Later.
Conor McGregor fights tomorrow. Let's go. Oh, also, wait. I wanted to say this really fast before we go. Hank Aaron, absolute legend, died today. So sad.
RIP.
Yes, for sure. But all right. Bye, Channon.
Later.